Hi everyone. Um, Welcome. Good evening, and hope you're all doing great. Hey, Gloria. Good evening. Wisdom. Good evening. Okay. So I'm just being informed that we had some challenges submitting assignment on the folder. So I'm asking, what about now? So I think that should have been solved. Okay. So okay. It's working now. Great. Uh, So we just go ahead with training for today. We have to finish what we have on function today so that we can quickly take a look at other things that we need to. All right. Good evening, Susan. Excuse me. Good evening. Okay, so I'll just go ahead. Let's start. So yesterday we talked about function. Okay, we looked at different type of functions that we can have and how we can not like different type of function, but how we can build functions that come with parameters and they need to, when they are called, the argument needs to be passed. Function that returns values, functions that print values, and we looked at some basic stuff that was done in function. So maybe with function, I replicated them and I gave you guys an assignment which I know some persons said they were trying to submit and they had issue. But right now, I think the link is working. So it means if you've done the assignment, kindly go and upload your assignment. And if you must have done the assignment, it means you understand pretty much what we are doing. We'll talk about function. Okay. So you're already preparing yourself for the assessment of the week. So which is fantastic and great. But we'll just go ahead and let's see what we can quickly finish in this class. So we want to talk about function variable scope. We were to cover this yesterday, but we didn't finish it because of you know how we said the class was yesterday, so that we know to give ourselves information overload. But let's see what we want to do today. So function scope, a scope of a variable is the portion of a program where the variable is recognized. Um, So where the variable is recognized, variables defined inside the function is not visible from outside. Hence they have a local scope. So what we are saying is that when you declare a variable, the scope of that variable is where it can be accessed anywhere in the program. But once you declare a variable inside the function, that variable in that function is not visible to other maybe other expressions or calculations that you want to do outside that function. So the lifetime of a variable is the period to which the variable exists in the memory. Lifetime of a variable inside the function is as long as the function executes. Variables are destroyed once they return from the function. Once we return from the function. So any variable you declared inside a function, once you return from that function, that variable does not exist anymore. So if I assign a value into a variable, inside the variable, when I'm done calling that variable, if I try to say I want to print that value I declared in the variable, it's not going to work. So let's look at some examples. I don't want to code, so just look at what we have here. So let me select my kernel. So this is a global variable normally. This is how we create a variable. So global variable is equal to um, global var. Now let me say this. The fact that we are saying global underscore var does not mean we are declaring this variable a global variable. This is just a variable name. I know there's some programming language that you can set a global variable. All right. But Python, once you declare a variable anywhere, it's accessible from anywhere. So it doesn't mean you don't have to set it as a global variable. Sorry for the background noise. So let me see how I can correct this noise. So just a minute. Okay, great. So apology for the background noise. And so let's go ahead. Please confirm if you can still hear me. Confirm if you can still hear me. You can just drop an emoji sound or something. Let me know you can still hear me. All right, great. Said yes. Okay, Susan said yes. So let's go ahead. So sorry for the noise. So we go ahead with so this is a function called depth test underscore. This is the name of the function that we are calling test live underscore time. So it's just the name of a function. And what we are doing here is this is our document. Grace Gloria was saying she does not understand the dog part. So this is a dog part. This is what we are saying. We talk about dog part yesterday class. It's just a basic strings that you're adding on top. But just this time you are not using a single quote. You put it in a double quote. Okay, putting in triple quotes. So you just put it there that okay, this is the function that tests the lifetime of a variable. That's what documentation is. You're not declaring any variable, you're not declaring anything, you're just writing set of strings. Now the reason why we use three quotes is that you can write multiple lines, you can get to write multiple lines of code. See, that's why I use three quotes so that I can get to write multiple lines. Remember when we were doing comments, I spoke about this. Okay, so great. So we've run the function. Okay, but before we run the function, let me explain what we did inside. Sorry, I got carried away with the comments part. So what we did is that we also declared a variable called local variable, and we set that this is a local variable. Now, one thing you should understand is that this variable is declared inside this function. Is declared inside this function. So it's declared inside the function. We can print it out, and then we want to also print our global variable that we declared outside the function. Whenever we call this function, we are saying create a new variable inside the function called local variable and print it out. Also print out our global variable that we created outside. So let's call the function now. You can see it's going to say this is a local variable, this is a global variable. Exactly what we wanted it to print. But one thing you should take notice is that this our global variable was not declared inside this function. But when we're calling the function has the ability to access this variable because it is global. So any variable that you declared outside the function, not like you declared outside the function in another function, outside the body of your programming language, it will understand it. I don't know how best to do this than to let me use a Jupyter, let me use a notebook. So what we are saying is this. Let's say we have a variable called I'm going to script now. This is script. So let's say we have a variable global underscore var is equal to. Oh, I just let me split my screen. Great. Fantastic. So let me just split my screen. So I'll just copy this and paste it here. So we have this. So pardon me, I'm going to zoom out a bit. So I'm going to copy this function now so that you see what I'm saying. So we declare a function here. This is our function. Okay. Sorry, the reason why I showed that line is that's great. So this is our function. Now when we are done, we step out of the function. We are going to print, we are going to call the function out. Okay. So call the function out. Let me give two lines. This is a function. It's best to give two lines before a function. After a function. So this is defining our function. Let me see. Using our function. Okay. Yeah. Good evening to everyone who is greeting me. Good evening. So I'll save this because you have to save it to run. Now, if to run this, I'll just click on play here. Hopefully, I think we are on that track, so it should run the great. So you can see that I have this is a local variable, this is a local variable, this is a global variable because that's what we have here. All right. So even as much as we declare the variable outside, we are still seeing it. You can still see it. But what if after doing this, I come back and say, after you have called the function, I want to say print local variable. I want to call that local variable that we declared within the function now. That's local var. You can already see from my screen that is already telling me that it's when you see something underlying like this, literally Python is telling you that I cannot find something like this. I don't know. You can see it's telling me that local var is not defined. But we have it in our function here. It's even highlighted in our function. But because we're trying to run it outside, it's telling us that it's not defined. So the scope of this is a local variable, and it can be anything. Let me do another example. Let me not use global and local so that nobody gets confused. Okay, just in case you are already mixing things up. So let me do another example. Just follow me. So don't look at this side of my screen. Focus on this side. So I want to do something else. So let's say we have something called um, let's say we have something called uh, cost. What is the cost of somebody? And the cost is data analysis, for example, data analysis. Okay. And then we print the person's, let's say we print the students, let's say we declare a function called student underscore IT. And we say that this is a function to print. So this function, let me just take this. Let's say this function. Okay, let me just show you that if you no, I wanted to remove the documentation, but it's a good practice. So this function prints the name and course of a student. So that's what this function does. So let me make this one bigger, more bigger than the other side. Okay. So this function prints the name and the course of a student. Yeah. So we'll come back here. Inside here, I want to print name. You can even do something like this. Name. And you can even say impute. You can run the function anytime we call the function. The function, even if we are not passing the name as a parameter, we can call it that anytime we call the function. Somebody should impute a value. So you can say impute what is your name. Okay, what's your name? Let's give a space because we don't want the cursor to be closer to this place. We want the cursor to be at this end. That's why I'm giving a space here. So I want to say, let's say print that, let's use screen and say print that I name your, because for example, now every one of you here, you are doing the same course, 30 days in Python, but your names are different. So I want it that whenever I call the function, it asks you to put your name. Okay, but even the asking you to put your name is inside the function. All right. So your name, your course is let's just say course, for example, now because our course is general. And that's what I wanted to print on the screen. Okay, so I'll take this one off. Now, if I call this function, I don't need to pass any parameter, even if rather that is carrying a value inside. I don't need to pass any parameter. So I'm going to delete this line off now. Now, if I save this and run it back, just click play. See, it's asking me what is your name. Yes, it's asking me what is your name. So I'm going to say girls gift and run. You say hi girls gift, your course is data analysis. So what I'm saying is that you can see that it can access, even though we did not define course inside the function, it can access it. But what if I say, okay, after doing this line, I want you to come back and say print something like F string. Let's say since we declared name before, let's print hey name as God's gift. What's what else are you interested in? Right? Just trying to say, okay, after we've done that, let's print this name. Since we've already declared it inside the function, we can still access it now, something like that. Then once you run it, you're going to run into an error. So the first thing is that the function will work. Let me say God's gift first. Let me say this time, let me say happy, for example, and I run it. Do you see that? Fine. What's your name? Happy. It says happy, your course is data analysis. But there's a problem. When it got to the place of printing this next stuff, hey, God's gift, it throws an error that the name is not defined. So what we're trying to say with all of these things that we're trying to explain to you is that any variable you declared inside the function is a local variable. It can only exist while that function is working or that function is being called. If after you've done that, you cannot access it again. But any variable you declare, not just any variable you declared on your source code, you understand the background of your source code is global. It can be accessed by any function. Okay. The same thing applies with when you're calling modules. When we are doing modules, any modules you declare on your source code, you can import the whatever you are importing, you can use it inside any function. As long as you know they're all linked together, you get your answer. So I think with this viewpoint of mine, I've been able to bring justice to what I'm saying. I don't know whether you guys understand. Uh, uh, okay, I don't know if you guys understand what I'm saying, but I know you understand. But let me get a confirmation. Or if there's any question, somebody can just type it on the comment section, and then I would respond to it. So this is exactly what we've done. Um, so this is exactly what we've done, but I've gone ahead to explain it more and more to us. So okay, so I told you guys yesterday. Let's look at arguments. So I think, oh God, yesterday I wrote function argument, and I think we might. Okay, we'll just do part two on that. So arguments, we talked about arguments now. All right, these are arguments. Could be you have to pass. These are arguments, but in this case, this is a parameter that we are doing. We're declaring a function called create. We're passing name and message as the parameter. And anytime this function is called, we want it to greet somebody and provide a message. So if we are to call this function greet, so it's going to be greet. We are passing the name Simon, and we are passing the message to Simon. So that's greet Simon. Um, Good afternoon. So that's what is needed in the function. All right. So when you call it, you must pass two variable to it. And there's a way, there's a way we can do this, right? We can say this is a str so that the person knows that it's a string. And we can also set this one to be an str. Also set it to be an str so that the person knows that it's a string. I will say that the function is returning what? It's returning a string. You can do this and run it. So once we call it, or even before we call it, once the person type greet, okay, and over the mass. So if you over the mass above it, the mass will tell you that, hey, you need two parameters in this. Okay, you can see that our documentation is showing below, but you need two parameters. You need a name and a message, and this function is going to return a string. So the person knows that, oh, I have to pass two strings to this variable to this function, which we did here, Simon and good afternoon, and then we got our answer. Okay, but you might want to ask me, what if the person passing one, like something like this, will it work? What if the person do something like this and pass one like this? Will it work? It's going to work. It's going to tell the person, good hello one, good afternoon, because when we're setting it, we need to say, even if you say this is string, you are not trying to set the data type by doing this. This is just to help people read to understand what a function is actually doing. That doesn't mean you're actually uh, setting the data type. Okay, but you can decide to be very strict with it. You can decide to be very strict. You can in our function, we can say that if the type of this is not string, return an error or something. We can test it, but that's not the goal of this um, example. So what if you pass in one instead of two? You're going to get an error. If you call the function and just pass only one parameter or argument, in this case, this is an argument now, you're going to get an error. So it's telling that one missing requirement, required position argument is missing. So you need to pass in message is missing. So, but there are different forms of building arguments in when you're defining functions. So we have a default argument. You can provide a default value to an argument by using the assign operator. So what this thing means is that when declaring a parameter, you can decide to say, okay, when the user wants to call this function, let the user pass in a name or their type. But also, if the user does not want, we want to do two parameter, message and name and message, but we are setting a default message inside. So what this means is that we are allowing the user to say, okay, you must provide a name, but if you don't provide a message, we accept, no problem. We've already declared a default message in that function, so that um, if you provide just the name, it's going to run. So if I run this one now, and if I say something like this, look at it. If we Let me go back to what we used before. Great. If I say great, now listen, this is good afternoon. Good morning that was here before. If I say great, good afternoon, it's going to tell me hello God's gift, good afternoon, or hello Simon, good afternoon. Right? But then if I pass in just Simon, it's going to say hello Simon, good morning. So it's reading actually these are default value, it's reading it. Okay, it's reading a default value. So that's why it allows you to do this. It allows you to do this. So without the assign argument, it will run. So you see, hello Satish, good morning. So if you want to change the default, you must ensure you passing what you want. All right. Just take example when maybe they were building an alarm clock that greets good morning, good morning, good morning. They just made they create they, or maybe say they made it they created an alarm clock that um, the default greeting is good morning, but then they made it available for everybody to be able to use. But if you want to use it, you can change it to whatever time you want it to do. So if you just buy it and you're just using it, it will be telling you good morning. But if you now want to change the value, you can say, okay, I want you, don't say good morning, say good afternoon, it will change. But there's a default value attached to it. All right. So that's the idea about um, 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 parameters. So, but I want to show you another thing. So why we call these things key default arguments. They are just default arguments. But what you should understand is that once you declare, um, once you set a default argument to a function, thank God I didn't teach you guys this thing yesterday. Most of you would have run out of class. So once you declare a function in a function, once you declare a default argument to be the first parameter in the function to be a default argument, the one we saw before, it was the second parameter that was a default argument. The first one was open for the user to enter what they want to enter, all right, from the keyboard. But this one now we are saying that the first one should be a default argument. Okay, meaning when you call the function, you must pass in the value of this argument. It's very important. Now, once you do things like this, what Python does is that anything after the first parameter, you must continue to pass them as default argument. Okay, it does not allow you to just pass the first one as a default argument and leave it. So basically, somebody is already thinking, but sorry, those of us who are in Nigeria, where I go use this thing now? How I want to use that? You will use it to you will use it. And funny enough is that even if you don't use it, like you think, there's no way I will do code that will do this kind of thing. See, there is a time you do a project that you want to do your research, and for you to be able to understand what to do, somebody might have solved that problem and is doing something like this to solve the problem. If you don't have the idea about what this thing is, you will not understand. You will not be like, hey God, what is this person doing? What is this person saying? So that's why it's good to, excuse me. So that's why it's good for you to understand this thing. That's so it's I know it might be boring. I don't worry. It's boring, but it's fun. It's when you start seeing the implication you understand more. And some people don't teach this thing, so they will just teach you small, 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 and leave it to go and suffer. But I like to teach people in the way that when you go to YouTube, I used to say it then to my students some years ago. I'll say I like to teach you something that when you go to YouTube and you see an Indian person teaching you stuff, you'll not feel like I don't know what I was doing. Like you're like, this guy does not know Python at all. You see, not teach us this one, see this one. And moreover, what you are learning on the YouTube is it's just something like you should know this thing now. So that's why I like to show people concepts. So I like to teach concepts more than coding itself. In what I mean by coding itself, like just teaching you the code. I like to teach you concept. I like you to think. Okay, if you think, you can be able to solve problems. If you can think the concept, if you can say, what is this thing returning? Is this a list? Or I'm having an error here. How do I debug it? Is this the shape? No, is this the type? Like, for example, before this class, I was running a project on natural processing language, NLP. I was running, I was working on analyzing some reviews, okay, to be able to predict responses, whether it's positive or negative. So, and I was training my model. When I was training the model, I've already done all the vectorizations and all of that I could do. But I found out that my model was not having issue. Can you imagine that I was battling, doing all the resetting everything, trying to like, what's the issue here now? Only for me to find out that it was just the data type of my white train. There's what we call S train, white train. It was just the data type of my white train. When I was mapping it to -1, 0, and 1 in that analysis, so that the machine can understand how to categorize a response. So I now found out that when I mapped it to 0, -1, 0, and 1, I left it as an object instead of an integer. And when you are building um, when you're working on machine learning, you must ensure that your targets are always, in fact, all your inputs are numeric you know function. So yeah, so that was an it was just somehow, but the only way I could able to find it was I used type. You see, type that I thought you guys, that looked as if it was just a beginner stuff. It was type. I don't like, what is the type of this white train? Immediately I just checked it. I found out, wow, 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 oh, it's coming as an object. I had to go back to my analysis. My analysis I already built to go and rechange it back to a to an integer so that I can use it to predict. So that is it. That is the idea. All right. So all of these things that you are saying, they're very important. In fact, there's a part I will show you guys now in this function. I used it when I was doing my uh, analysis um, on natural processing, natural language processing. Okay. So let's go ahead. So if you do this, you get an error. Okay. The function will not run. And let me tell you about one thing about a function. If you make a mistake in a function, like inside your function, maybe there's an error inside your function. Once you build the function and you say, okay, I've built my function and you run it, it will run without no error, even if there's an error inside your function. But it is when you call the function, you will see the error. That's why I say concept and logic. So it's when you call the function. So people might do build function and say, my function is working. Oh, yeah, go and call the function. Once you call the function, you start seeing a lot of errors. That's how function is. Okay. Python doesn't, they don't check errors when you are building function. It just, okay, this is what you want to build, fine. Like when you are building a blueprint, there's no error there. Everything looks good, fine. It is when you start building the house, then one place collapse. Then you know, like, we made a mistake here. Oh, let's go and correct it. That's how a function looks like. But cases like this where we have um, these names, parameters, it's a very, very huge one when it comes to making errors when you're building functions. So in this case now, it's not running at all. So you have to correct this. So we have to ensure that we set that. Let me just copy this and paste here and show you the correct version. So the correct version will now say that we say by default it's always good morning, morning by default. Okay, so good morning by default. You can see now that it's running. So somebody will say, what if we do greet like that? I will not pass a variable name. What do we get? See, it tells us hello, good morning. Can you see? By not passing a variable, because we need to pass normally, now because we set a variable, but because we have declared it as a default, you can call the function like that, and it is when I want to change what is inside, I will say, this greet is equal to our name. You see, it's asking me to set what name should be. So like I say, name should be Grace, and message should be. Do you see that? Can you see my screen? You see that at the over, you see it says name str is a string and should it is showing me the default, which is Simon. Same also with the message, it's showing me the default, which is what um good morning. Can you see? So I will now change it to. That's why sometimes if you're coding is very easy nowadays because you will see a lot of intelligence stuff helping you. So let's say good evening because this is evening in Nigeria. So now we can change it and do Grace good evening. So why is this thing as big as big? So another one is keyword arguments. Keyword arguments. So keyword arguments allows you to pass default keyworded variable length of argument to a function. You should use dash dash asterisk k words k w args or args if you want to handle name of argument in the function. So what we are saying here is this is more like a dictionary way of passing uh, parameters into a function. Okay, so we are saying that if you have a function like greet, now you don't know what you want to pass. Um, um, you don't know the amount of um, of variable that you should pass inside. Okay, but you want it that whenever the person called it, the person can say, "I want to pass in." How do I say this now? So you want it that the person whoever is using it can passing the kind of or length of variables that they want to pass. So we are saying that we declare our keywords, okay, and we're saying that if we have a keywords, print this. So the person now what we want to pass here is that we want to pass um, the name, the message, and the day. Those are the things that we want to pass right now in the variable. Okay, so you already know this. This is a dictionary. This is a dictionary. Keyword is a dictionary. Assessing a variable that will be passed called name. Assessing a message that will be passed and a date that will be passed. So if I run this, I'm going to get hello statish this. What if I don't pass name? Let's see what will happen. What if I don't pass day? See, I'm getting an error that is expecting day to be passed. So I need to pass a day to it. So in this case, now what this thing is just doing for us is that rather than spelling everything here, we can just say, okay, this is going to be a dictionary that we're expecting. We'll go ahead and use whatever we want to use. So what we are using is this. We need this when you call this function, when you call this function. So whenever the person is calling the function, it can print it out. Okay. But I think for me, there are cases where you use this. There are cases where you don't use it. It depends. But I just want to show you the logic about that. And the same way we have it, we say we have an arbitrary argument, and this sounds like a tuple. Okay, so for this case, sometimes we do not know in advance the number of argument that we'll be passing into a function. Python allows us to handle that kind of situation through function calls with arbitrary number of arguments. So what this one means is that, but the way we do it is asterisk, and then you are not using KWARGS this time. This can be anything. This can be asterisk slap, asterisk jump, asterisk. Why did I say slap? Can you imagine? Sorry, guys. Asterisk anything. So we can then now run a loop because we are collecting different numbers of uh, different numbers of parameters when we or argument when we are calling the function. I just put this line here so that I can print it out so that you see that I'm printing it out. And this is me creating each. So we are running a for loop because it's going to be a tuple. We are running a for loop on it. You can run a for loop on a tuple. Same with a list, but not with a set. We can also run the for loop on a dictionary. Did you do how to run the for loop on a dictionary? I remember of that, but did you do anything like that? Okay, waiting for comment. Okay, 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 great, great, great. So okay, okay. Somebody said no, sir. So good, 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 good. We have an assignment then. I have an assignment. So that's an assignment. Gloria, remind me about it on the Slack channel. So we run our function and then we pass in multiple names as we can. And it's just, you see, it's printing it as a tuple. So we're going to say hello Satish, hello. So what we are saying is that it's possible you want to pass in multiple values, right? But you don't know how you want to do them. But I think it's safer when you're passing it, you pass them as the same data type. Okay. All right. So that would be better. Okay. Let's say for example now you want to create a function. If I want to create a function that finds the summation of the total number anybody is going to pass in that function. Okay. A function that sums we did a function that I think this time let me come down. Let me come here and say class practice. Remember? So can somebody teach me how to define the function to add two numbers? Function to add two numbers, we do def, right? I should have given this as an assignment, but no problem. Add underscore. Let me just do another thing called def. Okay, let's just do it. No, add two. You understand? Underscore numbers, and then we'll pass in A and B. Those are the numbers that we want to pass. And then we'll now say that let's just return A plus B. It's a function I just built, simple function to add two numbers and return them. Okay, you can call this. I didn't put documentation here. So we can now say that our uh, numbers could be something like, let's say, number one should be something like 20, and number two should be something like 55. Then we can say sum total. Sorry, let me scroll up. Sum total is equal to add call our function and we just pass number one, that's what we want to add, and number two, right? And then we can print our results by saying that f string that we say results stays. What's our result? Sum total. This is simple function that adds two numbers together. Okay, so 75. Very, very simple function. You see, I didn't do much. Didn't do much. I didn't even save the value inside the variable. I'm just saying return this expression. Great. But what if I want to now add three number now? There is a lot of work. If I want to add three numbers, there's a lot of work. So I will have to write another function again to add three numbers. What if I want to add 10 numbers? You understand? So I might decide to say, fine, if that's the case, uh, we did something like that where we now built what we say a list. Okay, we build a list. But what if we just do something like let's say we just do something like def um, get some and we just pass in numbers. That's we will pass in a number, and the numbers are going to pass. We're going to say for number, let's just do sum is equal to or sum total is equal to 0, for example. Uh, we're going to say for number in our numbers that we're going to do, we want to say that you should add sum. Oh, what am I calling another? Sum underscore total plus equal to the number. Okay, when you are done, return sum total. That's what we want to return. So this is a simple function that we always add all the numbers that we put together. All right. So I'm going to run this, and then so let's say we come here and say we have let's say we have five numbers or two numbers, for example. Let's try two numbers first. So let's say yeah, let me do number one. I already have number one, so I'll just set number three. So let's say number three is equal to 12, for example, right? Set number three here first. So I want to call sum total, or let's say yeah, sum total again. I don't want to do sum total. I want to say something like uh amounts, for example. Let's say I want to get, or should I say total? Let me just say total is equals to, I want to get that get sum. Let's pass number one first and number two, for example. And let's print it out. Let's see what happens. So sorry, I didn't print out total. I didn't print out total, so I'm going to say results. It's total. Okay. So you see, we still get 75. Okay. What if we put not 3 now? See, it increased. So it's adding any number. So what if we put 100, for example? See, it's increasing. So by this, I just built a simple a function by using this arbitrarily keyword. I built a function already that can add any numbers. So you might want to ask me, what if I put a list? What if you pass a list inside? It will work. What if we say that numbers, for example, let's say scores, student scores is equal to the list of, let's say range. Let me just put a list. The student score can be 70, 65, 80, 95. Let's give the student 70, let's say 83, for example. I don't need to, let's say 55, for example. This is student score. What if we want to sum the score? Okay, we want to sum the score and then get the average score. All right, we want to sum the score and get the average score. So we can say that score, sum score is equals to get, remember our function get sum, and then we're going to pass in the scores. Then we're going to say that the average underscore score is going to be our sum. the summation that we've gotten, that's this one, whatever we get here, divided by the length of our list, the length of the scores. Okay, so that's going to give us our answer, and then we're going to run this. What's my what's the prototype for type and list? Okay, so let me see. Okay, okay. So what I would do is I will take this, paste it here. Okay, I run this. Let me see where the error is coming from. Okay, so the error is coming from. Okay, so I have to make this a tuple. Let me make this a tuple, not a list. Let me make this a tuple. And let's see. Okay, still the same error. Let me see what it's saying. Also prototype for plus equals to. Let me tuple. Okay, okay, okay. I think what it's telling me is that it cannot support incremental stuff. So I'm going to do something like, he wants me to do something like this is equal to this plus, where's my plus? So he wants me to do something like this. So let's see. The function still works here. So let's see. I still have the same error. So I think I know unsupported operands for plus and a tuple. So let me see what is the issue. So I think what might be the issue is that it's picking them. Oh, oh my God. Okay, so the only way I can know this is that I can do something like this. Let me go back. I don't want to debug this here. If we're already out of time. So I will go back here and do something like this. But then I will say that for number is this. Now I'm going to change this function to just get args, for example. And I'm going to say for number in number, I'm going to say print. Let me see what is happening. Print. This is a kind of debug. Then I'm going to take this one out. So I'll run this function. I'll run this function. But then in this place, I'll call it get args. So let me see what's happening on inside the function. Okay, so now let's see what's happening in the function. What's happening in the function is that it's still treating it as a tuple. Even if as much as I'm saying, it's more like it's doing append. It's appending the number. It still takes it as a tuple anyways. Okay, so let me do something like this. Print the length. If it prints the length, then I know that it's just one value. Okay, 5. Oh. So now I see what's going on. What's going on is that it's picking it as one element. It's not separating it. Okay, fantastic. So it's splitting it as one element. It's not separating it. So in other words, what we need to do, let me see what something says. So maybe creating a function. Numbers should. No, it's not. It's not that because it's a tuple. If I turn it to a list now, let me show you. I know what the error is. What the thing is doing is that it's picking it as an element. So what we need to do to get this to work, like the way we just declared it. What is it? Let's say we have this as a function. Why was I doing this cost stuff? I think I was doing this cost stuff here. So what we need to do is that it wants us to pick the elements. So okay, this is what we need to do. What we need to do is to come here and say that our score underscore total is equal to something like this get sum. Rather than passing our list, we just pass it direct inside. That's what it wants us to do. Okay, so I'm going to take this one off, take this one off, take this one off. Yep. So this will be this, and this will be this. So this is what you want us to do. So let me run this one first and then show you guys that we are already on track. So I run this. Great. So you see now that it has worked. So we now have what our total score looks like, which is 335. You get it? So it did not want us to put, you can't pack. What it's saying is that you don't, if you put a list, it takes it as one. Okay, so that was the error. That's good. That's a good logical error or a good syntactic error. Anyway, now my question is, what I want to think now is, how do I now get the length of this? Because I want to actually have the length so I can be able to get the sum, get the average. All right. So that is what I'm thinking. But that's on my own thoughts. But there are other ways I could do it. Another way I can do it is that I can I can it's still the same idea, looking through a list and then summing them together. It's still the same idea. But anyways, the fact is this that we understand what I mean by getting some. Okay, what we can do with this arbitrarily um, 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 function method. Yeah, so that's the idea. That's the idea. What's Francis saying? Francis said nice. Yes, yes. So I like it when I come to class. That's why I like sometimes I like to code in between and not just follow my notebook so that I can show you guys how you can go through some debugging and all of that. Do you know that right now my mind just became refreshed on how I can do these things. So I know the time will come now. It might not be today, it might be tomorrow when I'm trying to do another project. I'm going to face something like this. I'm like, oh, in class, this was what this area was giving me, so I know how to correct it now. That's how it is. That's how coding is. Okay, that's how you learn more and more and stay fresh with what you're doing. Okay, I'm going to think of how I'm going to write this one because I need to find the length. I need to find the average. If I want to find an average score, I need to get the length of all the scores. So probably, um, how do I say it? Probably there's a way for it. There's a way for it, and I'll think it. But if you can be able to solve these guys, if you can find the length quickly before I do, please send it to the Slack channel so that I can see your thought process and appreciate. But there's a function I want us to rewrite and and see how. Let's go and argue on the channel how it works like. So I want to look for a function where I'll say this is how I wrote a function, but I want you guys to rewrite it. This is not an assignment. This is for discussion. Go to the Slack channel. By the way, if you're on this WhatsApp, if you're on this live stream and you're not on the Slack channel, or you don't go to, you are not even anywhere, please try and be part of it. Okay, very very important. So for the next, if anybody have any question, you can ask a question. Someone says coding, but we make committed. Honestly, I was tired as soon as that issue came up. My brain will. I understand. So sometimes when you are seeing somebody, seeing me making trying to solve an error, your mind will not come because it's not straight as usual. You want to say, how is this guy going to solve this thing? Can he solve it or can he not solve it? I understand that it's very, very important. So I need a function. So let me find a function that can be that can be written in multiple ways. I want us to. So let me search for something like that online training book. Okay, okay. There's another thing. I think after this we're going to talk about what we call lambda. Yeah, we're going to talk about lambda so that you guys can see lambda and all of that. So I need something that you guys can. Okay, so I'm coming, guys. I'm thinking of something. So I think we did palindrome the other day. And yeah, we did palindrome the other day. So I want us to okay. This is our palindrome that we wrote. Let me go back to it. Find another way to what other ways can we rewrite this palindrome? Search for it and let me know. Where is the palindrome again? Where's the palindrome? Okay, this is the palindrome. Great. So what other ways can we write this palindrome? Let's go and put that on the group on the Slack channel. This is a function, palindrome function I wrote. What other ways can we rewrite this palindrome? All right. That's the assessment I want to give for today. Meanwhile, let's get ready for our assessment for the week. Tomorrow when we see, I think we have to talk about lambda. I need to teach you guys lambda. Yeah, so we talk about lambda or something. Let me check what is on my class. No, we'll not go to class first. Let's talk about lambda. After lambda, we'll talk about modules and then we'll come to OP. So tomorrow we'll talk about lambda and then we'll start with modules. All right, guys. Yeah, this is it for today. I guess you've learned a lot, and always like the live stream. You like it, comment. When you come back and watch again, still comment. Okay, comment on the session, like it, share the video, and tell people what you're learning. Go to LinkedIn. A lot of persons are not tagging me on LinkedIn. Tag me on LinkedIn and tell me what you're learning and all of that. Okay. So we'll see tomorrow for our final. That will be day 12 tomorrow. We are almost there. So we have 2 weeks left. You are doing well. And I want to say congratulations. You're already learning. And by tomorrow, like I said to Gloria yesterday, you're no longer a beginner again because you can do a lot right now. Okay, guys, I'll see you tomorrow. Uh, have fun. And let's appreciate Gloria for the work she's doing. Okay. Right. Any other question? Francis, it crossed my mind yesterday that palindrome. Gloria said B assessment for the day and for the week. Okay, assessment for the day. Gloria, I don't understand assessment for the day. I'm seeing B. What's B? Gloria, let me show your comments. What do you mean by assessment for the day and for the week? What do you mean by it? Gloria, you are the best. Thank you, sir. Ah, Gloria, you are the best, and then thank me, sir. Okay. Summation link is working now. Yeah, it's working. It's working. Great, great. Yes, service is working. If you see my mouse moving, the way my mouse is moving on the screen, it's your comments. It's you guys' comment I'm reading. Sorry, I know you can just be seeing my mouse moving. You're like, where is his mouse pointing to? It's your comment I'm reading. Okay, okay. All right, guys. Have a wonderful night rest. If you're in Nigeria, those of us not in Nigeria, have a wonderful day and see you in our next class. Bye bye.